Hi guys, so we've seen how bad Brexit has been going, but while supermarket shelves have remained completely empty or near empty over the last number of weeks, what do the actual figures show? Well, it's actually worse than many people thought. According to government data, UK food and drink exports to Britain's biggest market, the EU, have dropped by a massive £2 billion in the first 6 months of the year following the end of the Brexit Transition Period. Exports specifically to Spain, Italy and Germany were 1/3 lower than last year. This is according to an analysis carried out on the data by the British Food and Drink Federation. They say the impact of the pandemic and new barriers to trade as a result of Brexit are behind this fall. Imports instead from the EU have also decreased. They're down 11.2%, which works out at about £1.7 billion this year. Trade this year is actually worse than trade in 2020 when the pandemic was in full swing. Particular products that saw a 20% drop in imports from the EU were chicken, pork and cheese. Now, experts from the food and drink industry are warning that things are not going to get any better anytime soon. They predict that there will be a continuous drop in the amount of German cheese, French beef and other products in 2022. This, if everything goes according to plan, is when full border checks take place on the UK side. Remember, for the best part of this year, trucks passing from the EU into the UK were being basically waved through. Well, that will come to an end next year. Looking beyond Europe, there is a growing market in China, Australia and Japan. But don't get your hopes up there. A spokesperson for the Food and Drinks Federation said, and I quote, "The return to growth in exports to non-EU countries is welcome news, but it doesn't make up for the disastrous loss of £2 billion in sales to the EU. It clearly demonstrates the serious difficulties manufacturers in our industry continue to face and the urgent need for additional specialist support." Liz Truss, the International Trade Secretary, recently tweeted an image of a German steak as a propaganda piece for the pork industry, saying that the new market in Mexico will equal £50 million over 5 years. This goes nowhere to compensate for the loss in EU trade. To make matters worse, the food and drink sector is suffering from labour shortages in the so-called farm-to-fork supply chain. This means that every step of the process is struggling to hire qualified people to fill the gap left following the end of freedom of movement. In regards to this aspect, a spokesperson for the Food and Drink Federation said, "Unless steps are taken to address these issues, the ability of businesses to fulfill vital export orders will be impacted." While the EU represents Britain's biggest market, individual countries within it represent an important market also for the UK, Ireland being one of them. In the first 6 months of this year, the export market to Ireland was down more than £500 million. While it was up on 2020, it was massively down on 2019, the year before Brexit and the pandemic. So while it was down £500 million on 2020, it was down £132 million on 2019. The Food and Drink Federation said that the new complexities of trading with European countries, now that GB is a third country itself, has forced many companies to move operations to the EU when it comes to exporters, while importers are having to find alternative suppliers. Now, while Brexiteers will be happy to see a rise in exports to non-EU countries like Japan, Australia and the Gulf region, it must be noted that the EU has also seen a rise in exports to countries other than Britain. According to data from the EU's Eurostat, exports to China actually increased in 2020. While we don't have data for 2021, it's likely to be a similar trend. There seems to be a divergence taking place when it comes to trade between the UK and EU. Since Brexit, while trade figures are up, there is a clear policy in Whitehall for more and more trade to be shifted away from the UK's natural market to places on the other side of the planet. It isn't rational from an economic standpoint, but from a Brexiteer one, it makes perfect sense. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?